Hey Midnights. Thank you for listening to Midnight Overdose. Where are you listening from? Our next story, who was Art Bell? Arthur William Art Bell III, 1945-2018, was a highly influential American broadcaster and author, best known as the founder and original host of the paranormal-themed radio program Coast to Coast AM. His show, syndicated on hundreds of radio stations in the United States and Canada, gained immense popularity in the 1990s and cultivated a loyal following, particularly among listeners interested in the unexplained and unusual. He was often referred to as the king of late-night radio. Bell had a long career in radio, starting with a passion for amateur, ham, radio from a young age, even founding a pirate radio station in Okinawa while serving in the U.S. Air Force during the Vietnam War. He was known for his distinctive, soothing baritone voice, his calm yet deeply inquisitive interviewing style, and his exceptional ability to create theater of the mind for his nocturnal audience, often with minimalist sound effects and ambient music that enhanced the eerie atmosphere of the topics discussed. He retired and returned to radio several times throughout his career, often citing health reasons or a desire for a simpler life away from the intense demands of daily broadcasting, only to find himself drawn back to the airwaves by the irresistible pull of the mysterious and the unwavering loyalty of his dedicated fanbase. Art Bell's Coast to Coast AM was renowned for its deep dives into subjects that traditional media often ignored, blended with a unique blend of open-mindedness and occasional skepticism. While the show explored a vast array of topics, some recurring themes were central to its enduring appeal, fostering a sense of shared exploration into the fringes of human knowledge and experience. UFOs and extraterrestrial life. This was arguably the most prominent and consistent theme on Coast to Coast AM, forming the bedrock of many of its most memorable broadcasts. Bell hosted countless researchers, alleged abductees, whistleblowers claiming insider knowledge, and experiencers who shared their often bizarre and unsettling encounters. Topics frequently included the Roswell incident, endlessly debated for its alleged 1947 UFO crash in New Mexico and subsequent government cover-up. A constant presence on this topic was Stanton Friedman, a retired nuclear physicist who tirelessly championed the extraterrestrial hypothesis for Roswell, often presenting detailed analyses of official documents and eyewitness testimonies. Area 51 was also a perpetually common subject, focusing on the highly classified U.S. government facility in Nevada and its alleged role in housing captured alien technology and even living extraterrestrials. This mystique was famously popularized by figures like Bob Lazar, who claimed to have worked at a secret section called S4, reverse engineering alien spacecraft. Accounts of alien abductions were shared with chilling regularity, often involving detailed descriptions of medical examinations, unsettling telepathic communications, or disorienting experiences. Whitley Strieber, author of Communion, was a particularly well-known guest who brought a deeply personal, psychological, and often terrifying perspective to the topic of experiencers. The ancient astronaut theory, suggesting that extraterrestrial beings visited Earth in antiquity and profoundly influenced human civilization, was discussed with figures like Zecharia Sitchin, who interpreted ancient Sumerian texts to support his theories of the Anunnaki, and later popularized by personalities like Giorgio H. Tsoukalos. Space anomalies, such as unusual structures on the Moon, Mars, and other celestial bodies, were explored with guests like Richard C. Hoagland, who presented elaborate theories of ancient alien civilizations and artificial constructs in our solar system, often using publicly available NASA imagery as evidence. Conspiracy theories. Bell provided an unparalleled platform for a wide range of conspiracy theories, often emphasizing deep distrust of official narratives and mainstream explanations. This aspect of the show significantly contributed to the proliferation of conspiracy culture that has since amplified exponentially on the internet. Notable theories included the New World Order, a pervasive concept of a secret cabal of global elites allegedly manipulating world events towards a totalitarian global government. Proponents like David Icke, known for his controversial reptilian humanoid theories, and Alex Jones, who built much of his early notoriety through his appearances on Coast to Coast AM, were frequent guests. Allegations of government cover-ups regarding major historical events, for example, the JFK assassination, the events of 9/11, the true nature of AIDS, or the development of exotic technologies, were frequent, often featuring independent researchers presenting elaborate alternative theories and meticulously challenging official accounts. Discussions about secret societies like the Illuminati, Freemasons, Skull and Bones, and the secretive Bilderberg Group and their perceived behind-the-scenes influence on world affairs and political decisions were constant. The concept of a deep state, a clandestine network of unelected government officials, intelligence operatives, or powerful hidden forces manipulating policy from behind the scenes, irrespective of democratic outcomes, was also a recurring and increasingly popular topic. Paranormal Phenomena, the show regularly delved into all facets of the paranormal, often with a profound focus on personal experiences and unexplained events that defied conventional scientific understanding. Ghosts and hauntings were shared through chilling listener call-ins and interviews with paranormal investigators and psychics like Sylvia Browne and Rosemary Ellen Guiley, who offered insights into the afterlife, spirit communication, and demonology. Psychic abilities such as telepathy, clairvoyance, remote viewing, a program allegedly used by the U.S. military to gather intelligence, discussed with figures like Ed Dames, and precognition were explored, often with discussions of their potential applications, ethical implications, and the scientific challenges of proving their existence. Near-death experiences, NDEs, where individuals reported profound experiences beyond the physical realm, often involving tunnels of light, out-of-body sensations, or encounters with deceased loved ones or divine beings, were a recurring theme that offered hope and wonder to many listeners. Theories and alleged accounts of time travel, often involving paradoxes, strange temporal displacements, or individuals claiming to have visited the past or future, captivated listeners. Finally, mysterious places and phenomena, such as the enigmatic Mel's Hole, a seemingly bottomless pit in Washington state that defied explanation, or unexplained disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle, rounded out the paranormal discussions, often featuring local researchers, witnesses, or individuals with chilling first-hand accounts. Cryptozoology, the search for hidden or unconfirmed animals, was a perpetually popular recurring subject that tapped into humanity's ancient fear and fascination with unknown creatures. This included countless accounts and theories about Bigfoot/Sasquatch, the large, ape-like creature said to inhabit North American forests, with prominent cryptozoologist Loren Coleman often joining to share his extensive research, classifications of cryptids, and theories on their existence. The Loch Ness Monster in Scotland, the Winged Mothman, a creature associated with unsettling omens, and the collapse of the Silver Bridge in West Virginia, and other dogmen or cryptids were also frequently discussed, drawing on eyewitness testimonies, regional folklore, and blurry photographic evidence. Fringe science and alternative theories, while not strictly paranormal, these topics often challenged conventional scientific understanding and explored suppressed or overlooked innovations. Discussions revolved around free energy/over unity devices, revolutionary technologies claimed to produce more energy than they consume, often believed to be suppressed by powerful energy interests or governments. Alternative medicine, including unconventional health treatments, energy fields, and spiritual healing, was explored, often offering perspectives outside of mainstream medical consensus, ranging from ancient remedies to futuristic healing modalities. Earth changes/cataclysms, linked to ancient prophecies, planetary alignments, for example, Nibiru/Planet X, a hypothetical rogue planet advocated by Nancy Lieder to be on a collision course with Earth, or geological upheavals, were also explored, often with a sense of impending doom and urgency. Theories about weather manipulation using technologies like the High-Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, HAARP, in Alaska were also discussed, suggesting clandestine government control over atmospheric events for military or political purposes. Art Bell's approach was to provide an open forum where diverse viewpoints could be shared, often without heavy challenge, allowing the audience to make their own judgments. He created a unique space for exploring the unknown, fostering a sense of community among listeners who felt similarly drawn to these unconventional subjects, and ultimately giving voice to ideas often dismissed elsewhere. Art Bell's Coast to Coast AM wasn't just about the topics, it was the raw, unfiltered nature of the stories and the audience's passionate reactions that made it so captivating, transcending mere entertainment to become a cultural phenomenon. Most intriguing stories. The caller from Area 51, the distraught caller. This is arguably the single most infamous, chilling, and widely debated moment in Coast to Coast AM history. It occurred live on air on the night of September 11, 1997. A man, who refused to give his name, called in speaking in a deeply panicked, shaky, and often breathless voice that clearly conveyed extreme distress and genuine terror. He claimed to be a former employee of Area 51, or more precisely, a Black Project underground facility near it. The caller's allegations escalated rapidly. He claimed the government was conducting dangerous, unethical experiments involving extraterrestrial beings, and, more horrifyingly, that Earth was facing an imminent and inescapable cataclysmic event caused by malevolent entities he referred to as extradimensionals or non-humans. He chillingly described these beings as using Earth as a staging area for some unknown, sinister purpose, preparing for a takeover or harvest, and spoke of a vast, complex system of interconnected underground bases designed to conceal these operations and a cover-up of immense, planetary proportions orchestrated by powerful, hidden forces. Art Bell's reaction was one of profound invisible, audible, unease. He initially tried to maintain his usual calm and professional demeanor, attempting to keep the caller coherent and asking clarifying questions to understand the escalating claims. However, as the caller's hysteria mounted and his claims grew more bizarre and urgent, Art's own voice began to tighten with palpable tension. Midway through the caller's terrifying, rambling account, specifically as he began to describe the non-humans in greater detail, the live broadcast suddenly and inexplicably went silent. The satellite feed cut out completely for a full minute or more, playing only dead air before Bell, audibly shaken, could regain control of the program and transition abruptly to a commercial break. The abrupt, unexplained silence, occurring precisely during the most alarming part of the call, fueled intense and immediate speculation among listeners that the call had been deliberately cut off by some shadowy agency or government entity attempting to silence the truth. This unnerving coincidence added an almost tangible layer of credibility to the caller's desperate warnings. Bell himself appeared profoundly disturbed by the incident. His voice, usually calm and composed, reflected a rare moment of genuine fear and profound unease, which only amplified the terror it instilled in the audience. To this day, the distraught caller remains a chilling legend in paranormal and conspiracy circles, often cited as proof of hidden truths, leaving many to wonder if a profound, dangerous truth was revealed before being abruptly silenced by unseen forces. Mel's Hole. This is perhaps the most famous, fantastical, and enduring urban legend born directly from Coast to Coast AM. It began in 1997 when a man named Mel Waters called in claiming to have discovered an infinitely deep, mysterious hole on his rural property near Ellensburg, Washington. He described truly bizarre phenomena associated with it. Mel claimed he had lowered miles of fishing line and weights into it without ever hitting bottom, suggesting an unimaginable, possibly impossible, depth. He also alleged incredibly strange properties: a dead dog thrown into the hole later reappeared alive and seemingly revived, and electronic devices would malfunction severely or completely cease to function near its opening, suggesting some kind of unknown energy field. Adding to the intrigue, Mel claimed the military eventually seized his land, warning him to leave and offering him a new life in Australia, implying a secretive government interest in the anomalous site. Mel called in on several other occasions, expanding on the story, including details about a grotesque tumor seal that allegedly emerged from the hole and even the discovery of a second mysterious hole in Nevada. Art Bell, while always open to the unusual, maintained a classic mix of intrigued curiosity and slight, polite skepticism with Mel. He would press Mel for more details, asking logical and probing questions about the hole's properties, but he never directly accused him of fabrication. Bell's reaction was one of profound fascination, recognizing the captivating narrative potential, and he allowed Mel ample time to spin his incredible tale, knowing it would enthrall his audience. He often seemed to lean into the absurdity, implicitly inviting listeners to do the same. The story's sheer absurdity combined with Mel's convincing, folksy, and consistent demeanor, delivered with a deadpan earnestness, made it a modern myth that continues to be discussed, investigated, futilely, and debated to this day, despite no physical evidence of the hole ever being found. It became a prime example of Bell's theater of the mind. The Time Traveler Calls, John Titor, from late 1998 through 2001, an individual using the pseudonym John Titor gained significant notoriety by posting on various online forums and faxing Art Bell, claiming to be a military time traveler from the year 2036. Titor stated his primary purpose was to travel back to 1975 to retrieve an IBM 5100 computer, which he claimed was crucial for debugging a legacy computer program in his future time that used a specific Unix operating system, and that he stopped in 2000 for personal reasons. He made various specific, albeit often dire, predictions about the future, including a U.S. civil war by 2004 and a devastating global nuclear war by 2015. Triggered by escalating conflicts in the Middle East and domestic unrest. Titor offered detailed, albeit complex, explanations of time travel mechanics, involving microsingularities and quantum mechanics, complete with diagrams and technical specifications for his temporal displacement unit. Art Bell treated the John Titor story with his typical mix of journalistic curiosity, academic interest, and entertainment value. He was clearly fascinated by the intricate details and the consistent narrative woven by Titor, recognizing the intelligence and effort behind the claims. While he never fully endorsed Titor's story as absolute fact, he gave it significant airtime, discussing it in depth with researchers, physicists, and callers who both supported and debunked the claims. Bell often seemed to enjoy the intellectual exercise of exploring the paradoxes and implications of time travel, inviting his audience to weigh the evidence. The detailed and consistent nature of his posts across different platforms, combined with the technological jargon and the gravity of his predictions, convinced many that he was legitimate, even as his major predictions largely failed to materialize. The John Titor phenomenon became a complex internet mystery, inspiring books, documentaries, and ongoing debates among enthusiasts, a testament to Bell's ability to amplify fringe narratives into mainstream fascination. Ghost to Ghost AM, Halloween specials. Every Halloween night, Art Bell hosted Ghost to Ghost AM, an annual tradition that became one of the most anticipated broadcasts of the year. During this special, listeners were invited to call in and share their most terrifying, unexplained, or deeply personal ghost stories. These calls were often highly emotional, with callers recounting vivid and chilling encounters, sometimes with their voices trembling, breaking, or even crying as they relived the moments of fear or profound mystery. Stories ranged from classic apparitions of deceased loved ones or menacing strangers, to poltergeist activity like unexplained moving objects, strange noises, and sudden temperature drops, to mysterious disembodied voices, unexplained phenomena in homes, and encounters with unsettling shadow figures or hat men. The raw authenticity and sincerity of many of these stories, even if some were clearly fabricated for the thrill of being on air, made them deeply unsettling. Art Bell's reaction during these calls was consistently respectful, empathetic, and encouraging. He adopted a slightly more somber and hushed tone, perfectly fitting the spooky ambience. He would listen intently to every detail, offering a calming presence and asking gentle, probing follow-up questions that allowed the callers to fully articulate their frightening experiences without interruption. He never ridiculed a caller's story, no matter how outlandish, creating a safe, non-judgmental space for individuals to share experiences they might otherwise be too afraid or embarrassed to reveal to anyone. This compassionate and open-minded approach cultivated a profound sense of trust with his audience, making Ghost to Ghost AM a standout annual event that truly captured the essence of supernatural dread and wonder through thousands of shared personal accounts, often leaving listeners genuinely afraid to turn off their radios. Audience reactions. The audience of Coast to Coast AM, often affectionately referred to as the Insomniacs due to the show's late-night hours, was a truly diverse and highly engaged group, and their reactions were a crucial, dynamic part of the show's unique appeal and lasting impact. Many listeners demonstrated deep fascination and open-mindedness, tuning in precisely because Bell dared to explore topics that mainstream media either ignored or outright ridiculed. They were genuinely curious about the unknown, the unexplained, and the taboo, and deeply appreciated a forum where these subjects were discussed with a degree of seriousness and without immediate dismissal. A significant portion of the audience was willing to suspend disbelief, even if they harbored personal skepticism, for the sake of entertainment and intellectual exploration. Art Bell himself often stated that his show was absolute entertainment and encouraged listeners to be the judge of the veracity of the claims, fostering an environment where possibilities could be explored without rigid academic constraints. The show fostered an incredibly strong sense of community and shared experience. Listeners felt like they were part of a secret club, a vast, nocturnal fellowship sharing these unusual late-night discussions with thousands of others across the continent. The direct call-in format made them active participants, not just passive consumers, allowing them to contribute their own theories, stories, and even warnings. During intense calls, particularly the infamous distraught caller incident, the audience experienced a palpable sense of fear and excitement that transcended typical radio listening. The tension in Bell's voice, coupled with the caller's frantic and desperate delivery, created an immersive and truly terrifying experience. The sudden, unexplained silence during that particular call led to widespread, fervent belief in a genuine government cover-up or intervention, leaving listeners genuinely unnerved and speculating for days, weeks, and even years afterwards. Without the aid of visuals, listeners relied entirely on their imaginations, making the stories even more vivid and personally terrifying. This theater of the mind was masterfully enhanced by Bell's sparse but perfectly timed use of atmospheric sound effects, like eerie chimes or distant thunder, haunting musical bumpers, and dramatic pauses that heightened suspense and anticipation. While many were open-minded, a significant portion of the audience were also intelligent and vocal skeptics. They would call in to challenge claims, offer alternative scientific or logical explanations, or simply express their disbelief, leading to lively, often heated, but always compelling debates in the limited time allocated for opposing viewpoints. For many, Coast to Coast AM reinforced a deep-seated belief that the truth is out there, that there were hidden truths, vast conspiracies, and suppressed knowledge being kept from the public. It provided a powerful sense that someone was finally asking the right questions and giving a voice to those who felt ignored or marginalized by mainstream society. The stories, guests, and the overall mystique generated on Coast to Coast AM had a long-lasting impact on its listeners. Even years later, people would recall specific calls and interviews with vivid detail, demonstrating the show's profound and enduring influence on popular culture, the landscape of paranormal discourse, and the collective imagination of a generation. Art Bell's genius lay in his unique ability to create a safe, engaging, and often profoundly unnerving space for the strange and unexplained, allowing these intriguing and often terrifying stories to flourish and resonate deeply with an audience hungry for something beyond the mundane, seeking answers in the dark hours of the night.